Hello everyone, welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. It's 2026, welcome. First stream of the new year, first week back at work after a couple of week break. Not just myself, but a lot of the studio, and frankly a lot of the video game industry itself tends to shut down between Christmas and New Year's. Such was the same largely with us, although we did have downtimes and a whole bunch of us did a bunch of work anyway. As sometimes happens, your community manager was dealing with spam and moderated posts and doing what we gotta do. But this week was really our first week back after a couple of weeks. We're roaring into 2026, moving ahead on everything that we're working on. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our plans. I should be able to get you a little bit better sense of what to expect in the next couple of weeks. We've got some good things hitting our website and such as well. So, welcome everyone. Hope you're having a decent enough start to 2026. It's nice to be back. I played Lotra, though, over the break. And I watched people's streams, and I did all sorts of stuff, so I guess it wasn't that much of a break. But, break from the stream anyway. And one of the things I'm actually working to do here in 2026 is launch our Lotro Content Creator Program. And I'm going to have more information on this show in the next couple of weeks, I think, about that. We're going to try to launch applications. This needs a little bit more kind of lawyer review and a couple other bits yet, but we're getting there. And so the Content Creator Program should launch applications soon. This will be for Twitch streamers and YouTubers and even bloggers and all sorts of people. Anyone who, I guess, could be considered an influencer in the Lotro world who's making regular content. And has a large enough audience to be able to be onboarded into this somewhat special program that you've heard me talk about in months past. You've seen it roll out on the Dungeons & Dragons Online side, and now we're bringing it to the Lotro side here in the coming weeks. It's going to be a big, I wouldn't say burden, but it is going to be a bunch of work on my part, and so I need to carve out time to actually manage all those relationships. You know, I'm going to have to figure out, it's not just giving codes and things like that, but we want to work with them to make them successful, to make our content with them successful and things like that. And it is a process that takes some amount of hours. So what does that mean for this live stream? I don't exactly know yet. I think I might pull back a few shows so I can do a little bit more work on that. We'll kind of see how things go in the coming weeks. But I know I need basically something like spread across the course of a week, something like a half day's worth of time to really be able to be successful with this content creator program. And I might be eyeing this show space a little bit for some of that time. But we'll see. I'm still going to be on camera. I'm still going to be doing previews. Still going to be on bullroarer. You know, you can't get rid of me even if you want to. But whether I'm doing a show every Friday at noon here, I don't quite know yet. And we're going to kind of have to see what happens there. I think most Fridays at noon I'll still be streaming. But there may be a few times where it's just like, hey, I want to get our content creator program launched, and I need to spend time to do that. And if we want to add this to the priority list, which we do, and we think you do too. You know, we've certainly been hearing from content creators for a long time about a desire for the kind of program that lots of other studios are doing, and it's our turn to do this for Lotro. But it's not like there was a whole bunch of hours sitting there in my work week. So we might be doing a few kind of schedule changes here for Court of the Rings, and stay tuned on that. Next couple of weeks, next couple of months will probably be largely the same. But I did want to kind of give people a heads up that 2026 may see some changes to the show and the way I do the show. Because the other thing I've been thinking about doing is, do I really need to do this, all the news bits live? You know, one of the criticisms we get occasionally on the forums, which is, you know, it's perfectly a valid criticism, which is, hey, I don't really want to sit through an hour. And so that's part of the reason why I always do the news up front and try to keep the gameplay section largely news free, because it just makes sense to do it that way. That way people who really are just here for the news and not the rest of it can kind of get the news right away off the top, and then kind of move on to whatever it is they want to do. But I don't even really need to do that. And we're living in a world of, vertical video and YouTube shorts and YouTube channels and things like that. And I was wondering if I think a non-live, perhaps slightly more produced, slightly better, hopefully quite a bit better version of the news could be put together instead. So all that's in my head, the support for the streamers and the content creators that really need our support and aren't getting it to the fullest amount that we'd like to be able to offer it to them, combined with sort of some of the other things, has me rethinking what this show should be a little bit in 2026. So we'll see. We'll see. But for today, welcome. It's nice to have you here. It's nice to be here. I do enjoy doing this show. And like I say, you certainly have not seen the end of me, no matter what I end up doing here. The main benefit, as you state, Elbereth, in chat, of the live stream is the ability to ask me questions live. It's also a little bit tricky because as a community manager and as a representative for the studio, that means I got to be able to either have an answer that's a good answer, kind of off the fly, or I need to be able to just say, like I often do, hey, I need to look more into this. But so it's not always the easiest thing to get a world of questions kind of thrown at you live. A lot of people won't do it for that reason. But I've my old history of radio on that, I'm more in the trenches on that kind of thing, and so it's never really bothered me. Because I'll answer what I do, and I think if everyone knows here, if I can answer it, I will. And if I can't, then you're not going to pry something out of me for the most part. Except for the few times you do. There's been a few things. Yeah, and Sue Boo as well kind of says, hey, this stuff should also be on the Discord. And that's true. We do actually get a lot of news on the Discord. I've been pretty successful, I think, in this first year of the Lotro Discord's launch to get the announcements and sales and service news and bugs and anything we can. There's been a lot of messaging on the Discord, but you're right that there's more that could be done and more kind of video content and that could be posted there as well. So there's a ton of opportunity. There's always more opportunity than there is time, especially when you're kind of a one-person team here, but you're right. And that's been on my mind. I'm an old broadcaster. I used to be a radio dude in the 90s, and then was a reporter in the aughts. And then I've been doing this ever since. But I'm also an old podcaster and stuff. So there's a lot of DNA of kind of going live and doing it live in my blood. But I've also been thinking it's been on my mind for 6 months or so more here. Is this really the best way to be doing this? Is this really the best way to be presenting the information in our world of on-demand video and things like that? So I don't know. We'll see. I'm still going to be me. I think everyone knows that. You can't change that too much. But the way I deliver some of this may change over time. And it also gives opportunity, right, for this show, because, well, if it doesn't need to be, maybe there is room to just kind of have some fun. And when could that be? And maybe that would be something we could do live. But then the other thing I want to do is more live previews, bullroarer previews and things like that. And maybe that doesn't need to be on a Friday, for example, that kind of thing. So I wasn't actually even planning to start the show with this discussion, but I guess there we are. It's on my mind. It's something we're gonna work through. I've not heard of adding more to Northern Mirkwood. I'm sorry, DJ. I am, in fact, Broken Shield Lotro. I am familiar with the EverQuest show on YouTube, and it might, in fact, give me some ideas. Yeah, that's in fact kind of what I'm not maybe quite like that. They're doing their thing. I'm going to do mine. But that kind of idea is like, yeah, that maybe that makes sense, right? So, Middle Mirkwood, you're talking about. Sorry, I have not heard of anything about that. Let me get to some news though here. And I'm also going to have some pretty fun stuff. I'm on bullroarer. I'm going to show off a little bit of the UI scaling. And then I played a little bit over the holiday break when I could. And so we have made some progress in our main story. And so to wrap up the show, we'll be doing a little bit of that. But before I do that, I have a little bit of news. Because it's been a very busy week here in the Lord of the Rings online development team. The first thing I want to mention is that bullroarer is open right now for just another couple of hours, but our plan is to bring this back next week as well. And what we're showing off is the instances, UI scaling, and other things that are going to be arriving here in update 46.1. 46.1 will not be next week, probably the week after. So we're probably looking at something like the 21st for the release of update 46.1. That is still a tentative date, however. Very much a tentative date. So it could shift out either a couple of days on either side or perhaps even a week or something if things go poorly in the next 7 days here. But the plan is roughly around the 21st, we should be releasing update 46.1. That's going to have classwork in it. It's going to have the instances. It's going to have UI scaling, the first phase of it, and more. You can see a lot of what is going to be in 46.1 right now on bullroarer, and it's been open since, I guess it was about Wednesday that we were able to get it open this week. We had some problems getting bullroarer launched. Originally, we wanted it a little bit earlier than Wednesday. But we did get it open this week for Wednesday for this preview, and we're working on another one for next week. Don't know on the timing. Could be as soon as Monday, where we just sort of reopen it on Monday with a new build. Could be somewhere between Monday and Wednesday, depending how the build process goes over the weekend, how the QA testing checks out. You know, is the build shippable, as it were, and all that. Don't know yet, but assuming everything goes on track, could be Monday when we see a next preview of this. What is it going to contain? Well, it contains, I'm going to have to try these names. Ekelnebi, the Fallen Palace, a 6-person instance, and Kothrau, the Wailing Hold, 6-player instance. And then the Treasure Caves of Hurum-Kana, 3-player instance. And you can read a little bit of lore about that. The other thing is the UI scaling that I'm going to show off here in just a little bit. Another bit that arrived for this beta on bullroarer this week is a bunch of classwork. Now, I'm aware some of this classwork is more liked than others. The team has seen your feedback on some of the things you're unhappy with. I don't know that we're going to be able to make changes to it. That's not my call. Tell you that when asked, we're providing the feedback, but we have a bunch of class changes, many of which are being deemed as positive, and a few which are like, what, you're going to do that? Stop ruining Lotro. But we are still through the bullroarer process here, and we're also going to have additional classwork throughout the year. So if we are not able to hit it in time for 46.1, we can make further adjustment if we need to. I'm not going to go through all this stuff. It's just a lot to read, a lot to talk about. But we are doing a pretty targeted phase of classwork here for 46.1. And you can read the rest of the notes over in the bullroarer forums right now. We're fixing a bunch of the things that just have not been able to get fixed since the last build, and I guess it was mid-December here as well. So as you can see, 46.1 is looking big. Looking big. And that is, like I say, roughly targeting, could be the 21st. Oh, good question, Lexicon, on the deedlog UI. I too noticed that on bullroarer it was active again, and I don't know if it's coming back, or I have not had the opportunity to follow up on that. I know that we intend to bring it back, but we want to make it more functional than the last time around, so I'm not actually sure what the status is on that. Since I didn't see anything in the bullroarer notes, it could just be a setting change that didn't get changed correctly. Could be a build thing, could be something that was coming in. I need to follow up with QA on that. If we are bringing it back, it'll be in the release notes, hopefully before launch, perhaps for next week. We will follow up. Oh, yes, I am actually, in fact, going to also talk about that hint, Druid's Fire, in a very concrete way here in just a bit. Speaking of, why don't we just do that now? Roadmap for the rest of the year. Well, it's not going to be the rest of the year, I can tell you that much. However, we are in fact getting ready to release our next letter to the players. If everything goes well, we should be in a position to publish it, I want to say by the end of next week is really an earlier date to maybe middle of the week after that. All depends on how our asset creation goes and how our we need to give people a heads up, give people a chance to review it, comment, offer feedback internally with the licensors and everyone else as well. So it's still in process. However, it is written. It is off for all those approvals. And it is back from localization, so translating into French and German. So I will be actually doing the work to what they call stage it, as in kind of get the draft up on a website you can see internally, probably by the end of the day today. And then we've got some asset work to do, and by that I mean we haven't actually made the roadmap graphics yet. We have to do that yet. But we have all the text for it now in English, French, German to do that work. So it's coming along very quickly, and it could be, fingers crossed, something like middle of next week at the earliest, perhaps end of next week. Could be a little bit after that, but it's coming in the next week or so, and should be live and published in all 3 languages, and looking pretty good. And that'll give you a sense not necessarily of the whole year, although there is a Q1 to Q4 roadmap, but you'll specifically get a pretty good sense of detail for, like, say, the first 6 months of this year, and then an outline for what we're planning for the rest of the year. And we'll probably get Sever or Ryan or someone on either this show or a different video to talk a bit about it after it's released. The other bit then, as long as we're talking news, let's talk about the public event schedule. The public event schedule is even further along. That has already been what I just described as staged. And the only thing I'm really waiting for to publish it at this point is I need to get a little bit of feedback from a couple of people on a couple of dates. So, hey, this date says it's coming out X. Are we actually doing this? I thought it was Y, kind of a thing. But that should be solved, I would think, by perhaps Monday. Sometime on Monday that'll get solved. And if that's true, then it could be published by early next week. So let's say Tuesday, Wednesday, and next week we should have the public event schedule live one way or the other. Either I nuke a line from it and then publish it, nuke a couple lines and then publish it, or get the actual dates in there and then publish it. And that's really all that's left. So the public event schedule, got a bunch of work this week, and now that's mostly ready to go. So, when in doubt, leave it blank. Yeah, well, that's the thing, especially when we get into approximate dating on some of this stuff. Per usual as well, it's going to be an outline for the full year. So all the weekly bonuses, the festivals, the LI reward track, etc., etc. There'll be some things that'll get added to it as the year goes on, and that would be things like leading the charge deeds, more granular timing, perhaps on the Figment of Splendor vendors, that kind of thing. Charissa, which outfit bug are you talking about? Are you talking about the one with the wardrobe blanking out the UI? That should be fixed, I believe, in 46.1. But if it's some other kind of outfit bug, then perhaps it's not something I'm aware of. All right, what else do I need to mention here before I actually show off some cool stuff in game? Yeah, I believe that should be fixed for 46.1. All right, this is your final weekend to run. Let me go back to the small cam here quick. I'm aware that my video is a little blown out today. It's weird. It didn't look like this when I went live, and then something kicked in just as I was going live, and I watched as my webcam went from exposure settings correct to exposure settings incorrect. I don't know what I did. Can't deal with it now. I'm just going to have to deal with it. This is your final weekend to run the Yuletide Festival. We basically extended it a week this week after getting back into the office and saying we need a little more time. Players want a little more time. Let's give them a little more time. We don't even need to turn it off anyway. And so we did that. And so now it is going until 3 a.m. Eastern on Monday here, January 12th. That means this is your final weekend to run the Yuletide Festival. However, still plenty of chance to get a reward or two if you want to this weekend. You could go from 0 to getting a reward. No time flat this weekend. A couple hours of work, perhaps. And but you have this weekend to do it. The Yuletide Festival and its vendor disappear at 3 a.m. Eastern on January 12th. I did want to mention we also have a Buried Treasure event. That is our bonus for this weekend. A Buried Treasure event is going through January 12th. I thought about doing that for the show today, but we just did it maybe a month or so back. So I'm going to not do that today. And then the final bit of news is Angmar and Mordor is getting an update to Helm's Deep soon. We had released a schedule prior, sometime in December, outlining some tentative dating for the 85, 95, and subsequent level cap increases. And we put approximately January 14th as the release date for that. I believe that is now being moved as we speak. I was speaking to Orion today about that. We need to move it because it needs to get released with a release, and that release is, like I stated earlier, potentially tentatively the 21st. So the Angmar and Mordor update to Helm's Deep will likely happen on Wednesday, January 21st. And as soon as I get that public event schedule published, we'll say that as well. But that is basically then the plan. So next week is the bullroarer for the instances and all the final work of 46.1, and then most likely releasing it the week following. All right, I am going to go on to bullroarer right now, and it looks like I am in fact good to go. I wanted to show off a little bit of the UI scaling that's been talked about over the past month or so. This, for a lot of people, is going to be like, really, you're getting excited over UI scaling? What year is it? Well, I can tell you, yes, is the answer. And this is basically why. This is on bullroarer. This is the first of several phases of UI scaling work that we're intending to do. But this is available for preview right now. You can also check it out next week. We're going to start. You can see I've got, just over the past month or so, I moved from an old 1920 by 1080 monitor to a 1920 by 1440 monitor. The new 2K, as they call it. Who's they? I don't know. Anyway, I've been experiencing the same issue that people who are on 4K in particular have been having for some time, and it's been long in our to-do list to get done, and we are in a position not just to preview it, but to release it perhaps real soon. So this is the first of several phases. I don't know the timing on anything else. I don't know the content yet of anything else, other than we do want 4K monitor support and other things as well. So we will have further support throughout the year here. But right now on bullroarer, for example, here's the cursor slider. See how it gets bigger? Or smaller, theoretically. Isn't that nice? And I'm going to actually leave it at about 1.6, which is what I want. Here's the global one. This doesn't scale on the fly just due to rendering issues. So it changes when you let go of the mouse. But for example, boink. that all the way up to max. And this is global. So in general, you would maybe set global to kind of the minimum you would want. Let's just, I don't know, maybe something like that. You can also reset all this stuff if you need to. But let's just make that a little bit bigger. And then you can see as well that you can be far more granular with it, both larger and smaller, on a whole bunch of options, from chat to character, deeds, I mean, just all sorts of stuff. And the plan is to allow this to work with the layout, load, and save functionality. I am not sure if that is in this first phase or in the subsequent, but you can see pretty big deal, if I do say so myself, for those who are interested. Yeah, I actually like that, but I just wanted to show you that on bullroarer here. I am actually going to then move over to the main game. Can we get the scale, the game map, big and small? I believe that is also a feature that is on the list to try to do. Well, if you do lose your cursor, there is a way to revert it in the UI settings as well. Oh, the cursor slider is new for this build, and you'll see other things coming. Like I say, we've got different forms of 4K support coming, monitor support. Artwork itself is somewhat limited, but there will be upscaling and things as well. But we have other features for this UI scaling and accessibility work coming this year. Exciting, though, to be able to finally do that in real time. As soon as it was one of those things, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh. And this is coming to the other game too, right? Yes? But not yet, because it's totally different UI, sadly. When will the Kingdoms of Harad be in the Lotro store? We should have information on that soonish, but typically it's about 6 months or so after the release. So being as it just released in December, not for a little while yet. Probably something like May, June. I don't know, I need to follow up with Celestrada on that, but something like that. I did not get anything Tolkien related for the holidays. No, I think I could say that I didn't get anything Tolkien related for the holidays. But yes, I had a wonderful holiday time with my friends and family. I agree with the chatter, William Lev. Sorry to say, I do not believe Mac support is likely to be a part of our future. We used to support it a long time ago, and it didn't work very well. It had all sorts of problems, and it sucked up a lot of bandwidth, as they say. And so we have whatever support we have, but some amount of community support that can get you going. But unlikely to have official support, unless things were to dramatically change in the environment. Telerian 1003 asks, will the slider settings be load and savable? I do not believe that they are right now on bullroarer, and I know that the team has had a discussion that we want it to. Whether that gets in for 46.1 or not, I don't know. I would say maybe. On 46.1, yes, more longer term, because we do want you to have the ability to load and save those layout settings. It's just the actual work to do it. I'm not sure whether it's in 46.1 yet or not. I would never say never on Twitch drops, but it's not something that I am we are likely to do too quickly. And the reason for that is it involves integrating the Twitch API into your game engine. That's a task that would need to be approved by a whole bunch of different entities, and engineering and other work would need to be involved in doing that. And then you have to maintain and support the program and do all that sort of thing. I don't think that that's likely to be a part of our short-term future. Say there are 50 different items to adjust? Wow, that is a lot. All right, let me head back in game. Now, where have we left off? I am at 14.9 in the story of Kingdoms of Harad, Song of Waves and Wind. And we are speaking with Creedwin. Oh, I must have my audio set weird. What did I do? Yep. There we are. Now I can hear my sound, and maybe you can hear our sound, too. Okay, that should work. However, the Lotro Content Creator Program will be launching.
You are not an easy woman to find. Our steps seem ever behind yours.
Who is it who seeks me? My time is precious and my work urgent.
What amuses you so, Glorfindel?
Nothing, my friend.
It's true.
I am sorry to interrupt.
We are starting to actually do the story here.
Speak, stranger, or be gone. The King Tai have suffered enough
We've
already.
had 6 weeks or so.
And my purpose requires I aid them.
We count ourselves friends of the Keen
4
Tide
weeks,
as well.
5 weeks.
It was Thorvillon of Vartulin who spoke to me of you.
Thorvillon is dear to me, as are all the Kintai. I've sought for many years to cure the Lagdavrit, the pale blight that holds Imular in its grip. By the way, that's what I've been up to, story-wise, is investigating a blight that is spreading throughout the region, and somewhat working in vain to try to curb it to date.
It is my purpose to aid the peoples of Shigana.
Your purpose?
Yes, stranger. Given to me when I was sent to this place.
But who sent you here, Kuridwan?
The Shogor who settled in this land named them the Gursati. They are guardian spirits revered by the Shogor, 7 in number.
Isman rules above them all. The Sky Master, in his lordly form, he observed the comings and goings of the Shogor as they crossed the great desert. Going on about the various 7. The 7 Gursati who gave me my purpose and sent me to aid the people of this land are opposed by the demonic figure Makal. But I will not speak of him. The Shogor speak his name only in whispers, and then unwillingly.
Their name and number may be unfamiliar, but one thing is certain to me in Kanush. You and Kuridwan were each sent to Middle-earth by the Vala. She is a wizard, as you are.
How can this be? It is true, some things were left unknown to me by the powers that sent me to Middle-earth, that I might best accomplish my purpose. but the number of my order is 5. Far have I traveled across Middle-earth to oppose the evils of Sauron and his servants, and Radagast too has played his part. Saruman was the highest in my order until he succumbed, but even in that I see the role Saruman played in the defeat of Sauron. 2 others of the 5 traveled east into distant lands, and their fate is unknown to me. They serve the powers as I do, I am certain of it. The number of wizards sent to the northern lands may have been 5, but I assure you the southern lands are vast. Do you think the Shogor nomads would welcome you among them in the body you now wear? The Gursati, the powers as you name them, sent to their servants in form appropriate to the people they sought to aid. How might the Golden Maiden or the Sorceress in Green be received in the cold northern lands, I wonder? The wizards of the northern line and the wizards of the southern line must be different, or they must each fail in their purpose. In this I see the wisdom of the powers that gave us our mission, separate though they shared they may be. Earlier I was amused because Kuridwan reminded me of Inkanush, but I did not expect such similarity.
We must fight!
I'm a little over level. That's part of why I'm focusing on the story here, because I've been leveling up to, I'm now 154, and we're not that far from 155, but yet the story is back to about 152, and so because I've been doing too many side missions trying to prevent this blight, and so I've been leveling up a little beyond the story, but we'll be back within its range pretty quickly. But for now, kind of a piece of cake. I am sensitive to people's worries about spoilers if there is something here. That's why I tend to I've always historically trailed behind a lot of players in terms of story beat on the show, because I give people plenty of time to do it. But there's a whole bunch of people who won't be playing this for a year or 2.
Let this be a lesson to you. You will never be safe from the mighty Utugi. Retreat, my warriors. We will return.
Harad, my brother! No!
This is someone we've been interacting with as well. Yeah, I work for Standing Stone Games. That's how it works here for level cap. But I have rarely found leveling up to be difficult in Lotro.
Curse the Thardut for senseless slaughter!
How many lives must their thralls destroy? How many Quinta share the fate of Celirtus? Unfair.
It may not be the lot of this Quinta to remain, unless he wishes it to be. Many of the Quintai I have known so loved their lands, they sought to remain there beyond death.
Their Irothi remain to comfort those they leave behind. This has been the tradition of the Tarthai ever since they chose to follow the One. They feared what lay at the end of the road and preferred to remain in the land they knew and had come to love. That was their choice, but none commanded the choice must be forever.
I do not understand your meaning, Kuridwan.
What does the choice of the Kintai so many years ago have to do with slain Baharud?
It is the memory of our friendship that compels me to ease your heart, dear Ulishar.
Kuridwan extends her arms to encompass all the elves that stand nearby. The elves were fashioned as one people, not as two. The west road is not closed to the Kintai, though they followed it not when it was offered. Should a Kinta set aside his fear of the unknown, the fate given to all the elves could be his as well.
Even if that was so,
Basically, can he go off to the west? Would one of the Kintai be welcome to that distant place that lies beyond death? We have been so long apart. What could this place hold for a Kinta, save fear and resentment?
Set aside these doubts, Ulishar, if you can.
Many of the Elven wise dwell in the blessed realm beyond the circles of the world. They return not to Middle-earth. In the undying lands, all weariness falls away, and there the warmth of the sunrise banishes all earthly concerns. It's natural to fear that you have not seen, but I believe Kuridwan has spoken true. The Eldar and the Kintai were fashioned as a single people, no matter the separate roads down which they walked afterwards. Your people are a part of Elvendom, and as is Glorfindel and these others, I believe the Kintai could share their fate if they desired it.
I know not what your brother would choose for himself, Ulishar. None but Harad can know.
Sing or mourn? Let's mourn. Probably need that one targeted.
perhaps I am being foolish, but I spoke to my brother of this choice.
We do have the voice acting available in other languages, in, I believe, French and German. I believe there is some follow-up that is being added with this upcoming patch of 46.1. But yeah, for this one in particular, we did in fact voice a lot more of it. Basically trying to decide, what the wishes might be.
On this subject, my lips are sealed.
Never before have I sought to interfere with the traditions of the Kintai.
I ask despite knowing the answer. It is the Blight that holds Adagim in its grip that causes me to speak these words aloud. Rarely did I speak with Harad beyond the exchange of simple greetings, but some years ago his brother was dear to me. It grieves me to see Ulishar's sorrow that his brother's spirit must remain trapped within blighted Adagim, when I know it might be otherwise. If the sorceress in green here remained, she might already have restored the Emerald Wood, but of her I have received no word.
This is what I've been seeking.
I must find the Eyrie that was once Celirtus. I must tell her the westward way to the undying lands is open to her. She is not doomed to the endless unlife of a wandering, rageful spirit, but can choose to accept the fate of the Eldar and pass into the Blessed Realm. This is my purpose for coming to this place. Sigilith had run... We have a story here where someone dear to him was otherwise left to a fate that they didn't wish. Or did not think they would wish.
Our visit to Sulmadash has been an eventful one, but our work here is not yet done. The surviving Utugi fled from Sulmadash in the direction of the Hill of the Mother.
Lighted though she be, I fear the damage such creatures might do. Take care of it, buddy. Okie doke. So, we are heading over to, off to the west here. So, let us do that. generally a way to know whether you've purchased an expansion. The easiest way is to see if it shows up for you in the store, and if it, for the most part, that works. However, you can contact customer support. You can also see, if you log into myaccount.standingstone.com, some amount of grants. But it's a longer-term issue that we will need to hopefully make progress on in the future. Also, oh, okay, I can jump off here. Okay. I've been wandering around this kind of blighted land. I will warn you, this is not the prettiest land in the world. While I'm here, I should gather water, mushrooms, sap, and leaves, which is generally... There we go. Yeah, in general, for spoilers, you know, the second half of the show gets fewer views because it's not news. It's just kind of me hanging out and playing and stuff, for the most part. And that's deliberate, as discussed earlier. But then also, people tend to only kind of half watch the gameplay part of this anyway. So I tend to feel pretty comfortable with story beats as long as I'm, you know, a month or so behind. And this is part of a quest chain that I have been working on for a while, which is part of why I may be over level for this, which is to help deal with the Blight in this region, which is sad, and I want to do something. Maid Alliance managed to provoke the environmentalist in me, I guess. And I know I've said this before, but aren't you glad we don't have stinging bugs that are about the size of your head and torso flying around all the time? Count our blessings. At least we don't have that. I don't know. We have had... Gosh, I remember, especially way back in the day, there were very heated discussions in the Lochor community about the idea of official weddings and wedding rings and all that in the game. And the idea of offering some kind of marriage ring within Tolkien lore certainly seems cool enough. Maybe 2026 could be the year for that. But I can't say I've heard anything, I'm sorry. Sweet lad Malin. However, I think I say it the way I would say it. How many of you, I'm just curious, show of thumbs up in chat, how many of you watched like the extended Lord of the Rings trilogy over the holiday break? Just because you had a 12 hours where you could just sort of do it. I did do that. Looking for blighted leaves. Yeah, they are. It's kind of funny how, and I agree, it sort of has become a quote, Christmas movie. The extended edition, because you got that 12-hour time frame or whatever to just sort of do it. And there was a time where I was watching it. I was doing a little bit of Yuletide, kind of hanging out, listening to holiday music, and I was like, yeah, this is all right. I only have the trilogy on DVD though. I never picked up the Blu-rays, and I don't have the 4Ks either. And honestly, it's because I really just kind of like those extended edition old box sets, and it looks good enough for me. You know, remembering that I'm of an age where we used to watch things using what they called rabbit ears. So I can handle a little bit of snow and fuzz. It's fine. DVD still looks good enough to me for that. Although I would love to get, like, I guess the 4K or Blu-ray at some point. Alright, now let's go on to where we're actually heading, which is a little bit northwestward. $2 days if you include the Hobbit ones, huh? Yeah. I think obviously just briefly going back to the wedding ring concept, just the idea to be able to get a wedding ring of some kind, whatever, maybe we couldn't use the term wedding ring, but maybe we could. I think you probably could, right? Didn't they use bands though? For Arwen and Aragorn? Whatever. Some kind of relationship signifier. And just leave it just as an item and let everyone else sort of deal with the distribution and use of it. And it would just be a cosmetic, although we don't have cosmetic rings. So I'm not quite sure exactly how it would function, but it doesn't matter anyway. It just as sort of like a ceremonial, hey, I trade you this ring and it's in my inventory and such. You can wear it. Really is probably all you need. Be given to anyone. And you can trash it in your inventory if you want. After things go poorly. It's true. I actually have a plan someday. I would love to get some stories for like Valentine's Day or something about couples that met in the Lord of the Rings Online. Because I absolutely know that it's plenty of them. I have met countless families over the years. Well, I haven't met that many people, so countless isn't the right word. I have met quite a few families over the years who are like, yep, we met in Lotro, we gamed together, we got married, we have kids, now our kids are playing Lotro. I hear that all the time. And I think that's sweet.
A party of great brutish oaks approached the Hill of the Mother not long ago.
Okay, so they attacked the Hill of the Mother. This is like one of the largest trees that is suffering greatly because of the Blight, and Irsenith is one of the guardians trying to look over it. A mass of spiders boiled from the underbrush and fell upon the orcs. The one you saw perished immediately. The rest escaped west. It's possible they may encounter Laverth, but I suspect their preoccupation with attacking spiders may hide the grove from their discovery. It is said a terrifying spider dwells somewhere within the forest. Batteral the Gorger by name. I never believed I'd be glad to see the arrival of Batteral's spawn, but yep, that worked out pretty good. Still, I'm glad they did not turn their attention upon me. Perhaps Amuma shielded me from discovery.
The water and the wildlife around Amuma is poison as well.
Alright, that's 151. I'm gonna have to skip that one for now. Sorry. Boss pets. So this comes up occasionally on either game, and it's generally worth noting that when we do pets, they are basically generic. And that is that we don't typically do pets of specific characters. And that's by design, because you can't have 1,000, say, Thurlocks rolling around, but you could have 1,000 cats rolling around. Now, we have on occasion kind of, you know, blurred the lines of that a little bit. So it's not impossible. But in general, we go for more generic creature types than a specific creature or individual creature. I'm on the right side. This little section can be a little tricky to kind of... Oh, I didn't do it the right way. I always do this. You actually need to go around or get in. Always coming around the wrong side on this. That's fine there. Should I play Magic Alt Runekeeper or Minstrel? I should. At some point here I should swap out characters and play someone else. But, you know, you get kind of used to playing Stampion the Champion here, and I quite enjoy it, so... I'm actually in the orcs west of Labyrinth. I played you know, I've been doing this show for what, roughly 8 or 9 years, 7 or 8 years or so. And for the first phase of Court of the Rings here back in the day, I actually was on Dwinstrel the Dwarven Minstrel for a long time. So I actually played a whole bunch of Minstrel gameplay over the years, but it's been years and years since I did it. Alright, and I think we're going to probably
my friend,
wrap
it
this
is good
up
to
here.
see you again.
I'm hoping you would return to Lavarth so I could tell you what I've learned from my experimentation with the Blight samples you brought. The Blight hates buckets. See for yourself. What? We will examine this bucket in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. If you're watching this on YouTube, I really appreciate you watching there as well. Give me a thumbs up. And keep in mind, if you are watching on YouTube, that I've started to put out some video shorts of this week's casual stroll through the Brandywine with scenario. I got some cool shorts videos there, so trying to get into that here in 2026 as well. Anyway, I'll be back next Friday with more. Thanks so much for watching. We've got Tolkien Professor and Druid's Fire up next. And then after that, you can find the full schedule for the weekend. Have fun, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.